What up, everybody? I am back. It is good to be back. Everybody in here, I see there's a bunch of views right now. Share this out. We need to go over some of this stuff. We're going to be having a good time. It's good to be back, guys. It's good to be back doing this. I missed you. I missed doing these shows and having a desk. That is one of the things that I missed being out on the road going to Florida is not having a desk to work from. Trying to do all of that stuff when I didn't have a desk was really difficult. But we got a good show together. So share this out. Get this going. Ryan, I see you, buddy. Free. Thanks, buddy. It's good to see you. Long time no see. Terry and Kat. There we go. We're getting everybody in here. So share this out. I just discovered, I started going through the big, beautiful bill in the Senate. Well, from the Senate, to kind of compare the two. And I was quite surprised on what was snuck in by the Senate. And we're going to kind of go over that because we talked about it on a show like a month ago. We talked about some of these changes and it looks like for some reason the Senate decided to screw over Americans, and there's somebody in their back pockets trying to tell them that they got to be making these changes. I don't know why. It's really weird. But we're also going to talk about the Diddy trial. Of course, we got to talk about the Diddler. We got to touch on that. He got 2 charges. He was found guilty of 2 charges of 5. We're going to touch on some of those details, though, because I do believe his biggest opponent in this case, which is Cassie, kind of ruined it. And it was a lot of what she was doing and going along with and what she said in text messages and what she did. So we're going to touch on that. Then we got to touch on alligator Alcatraz. I got to touch on that because I think it's hilarious. I think it's funny. We'll see how effective it is. How much money we spent on it, I don't really know of that yet. There's been some theories, but haven't found anything about that on the full cost. But I do like the idea of it. Is it good use of land? I'm sure there's a bunch of liberals losing their mind of, this is our land. We're going to ruin it for the alligators and the Burmese pythons. We're going to ruin it for all of them. You can't be building here. I'm sure a lot of that was going on, but I love the idea of it. Let's see. What was the last topic that I had? What was that? No, just Florida recap. That's right. So just talk a little bit about Florida. We'll just jump into that real quick and we'll get going. So keep sharing this out and seeing the viewership starting to climb. Facebook and YouTube is awful, like always. But I also noticed there's a problem with Facebook and YouTube. There were issues when it was scheduling it and making sure it was showing up. I don't know if they're changing on how those things work because I haven't done a live stream through Restream for over a month. And so maybe something changed. I got to figure that out. But let's talk about Florida real quick. There was already an airport there. Oh, okay. Well, that's good. So if there was already an airport, that means there was some land already being used. Probably still had a bunch of people losing their minds, but I'm game for it. I didn't see it. I wish I would have really known about it when I was there. I would have drove over. It would have been interesting just to go and see it, but wasn't on my mind, and I had no idea it was even in plan. I had no idea. But the Florida trip, let's touch on that real quick. So Florida was awesome. I met Terry. I met Free. I met David. I met a whole bunch of people at LPF Con. And then we hung out with Free quite a bit. And his son had a good time. Florida, guys, one of the things I'll say about Florida that is really interesting, and a couple of you already know of this because I've told you when I was there, I didn't realize Ocala had a horse country. I thought I'm envisioning like Florida was just all swampland and palm trees and sand. But no, they have a whole bunch of horse country in the middle of Florida, Ocala area, which is awesome. That place looked amazing. So if anybody hasn't gone through Florida, I would highly recommend to go through Florida and drive through it, not fly. Drive through Florida and see what you think of it. It's really different, but I would encourage everybody to go drive across the country. It takes a long time, but you get to see a whole bunch of other things that you have never seen before within our country, and you skip it all when you fly. But overall, I would say Florida was a success. We did a whole month We left on May 26th, and we returned on, what date was that? The 28th of June. So we were gone for roughly 32 days. Is that 32 days? I think so. So 32 days was our longest trip in the motorhome, which I thought was, it was probably about as long as I could get with my kids right now. My kids were getting a little antsy and starting to fight with each other the last week or so. And so it was good to get home, and we timed it just right, but I would do it again. And my wife and I have already talked about it, about going back to Florida almost every June, because all of you in Florida say June is hot, but it's not. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. And I actually would go back because all the tourists left and all of the snowbirds left. So it's not that busy. What up, OB? I see you. But yeah, so that was a little bit about the Florida trip. That's why I was gone for last month. You didn't really see a whole lot from me, especially on Facebook and all of the other platforms. I didn't touch those really, and I really don't touch them a whole lot anymore anyways. But on X, of course, we did some lives. We did some lives from the different campgrounds on our way down there. On X, it was fun chatting it up on our way. But on our way back home, we just bolted and tried to get home just to get out. So we didn't really take as much time on our way back home. But overall, it's oh my gosh. Nick better get in the comments and watch this show. He is in the comments on my post saying that the no tax on tips, he is on drugs. And I want to make sure to educate him. So Nick should get in here. All right, let's jump into this, guys. Let's jump into the next topic. Let's go into Diddy real quick, and then we'll get into the big, beautiful bill. So with Diddy, the part that I find interesting about this whole Diddy trial, so he had 5 counts that he was being convicted of. Racketeering conspiracy was count 1. Sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. I'm going to struggle with that word now for the rest of the show. That one was with Cassie. And then transportation to engage in prostitution with Cassie. And then sex trafficking by force or fraud or coercion with Jane. Jane didn't use her real name, but also her real information got released during the trial because people are stupid. And they released a video of her. Someone ended up putting it on social media. And it's ridiculous. But anyways, that was the other one. The 4th one, the 5th count was transportation to engage in prostitution with Jane. He was only found guilty on the 2 transportation to engage in prostitution. Both of those charges with Cassie and Jane. Those are the only 2 he was found guilty on. The jury was kind of hung yesterday. They couldn't make a decision on the racketeering conspiracy charge. So that's where it carried over to today. And I was telling my wife last night, it doesn't matter. They're just going to be first thing in the morning. They're going to have a decision and it's going to be done. They want it to be done. They want to move into their holiday weekend. They want this behind them. The jurors are just going to move on. And there will be someone to cave and flip. And then that way the decision's made because it was split. But it came out as not guilty. Do you think it's possible the jury is paid off on this? I doubt the jury was paid off on this. And we're going to touch into that because there is some funniness with this whole trial. And we'll just jump into that part. Actually, might as well. So James Comey, everybody knows who James Comey is, right? In the comments, put in there, you know who James Comey is. Do you know about his daughter, Maureen Comey? I didn't connect these dots during the trial until yesterday, and I started reading about some of this. His daughter, Maureen Comey, she was the one trying to prosecute Diddy. Do we trust James Comey to do anything right in the government or in our judicial system? No, we don't. So his daughter, out of all people, are the ones trying to pursue this. And so this is just aiding the big scheme of things of all of these elites, all of the big powerful people. And this is just where I said it a long time ago on a show that I believe Diddy's going to walk free. Like it seemed like they didn't really have a whole lot of evidence that the whole issue of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or see, I told you, coercion. I'm going to mess it up for the whole rest of the show. That's what's going to happen as soon as I do that once. So with the sex trafficking by force, we're just going to say it that way. They're not going to have enough evidence for that. And the biggest thing that they ran into with Cassie has text messages asking for more freak offs. When is the next one? Oh, it was so much fun. Of course, because she's trying to please him, please Diddy, and trying to be his one and only, which would never happen. And so she was saying these things, which really ruined the case, in my opinion. Like, by her coming out and saying, when's the next one? When's the next freak off? This entire thing fell apart from that moment because she is asking for it. She can no longer say sex trafficking by force. The only one that was really pushing that narrative pretty heavily was Jane, but it still is a difficult thing because a lot of the documentation and a lot of the evidence that they had was all showing that they were trying to please him because he was such a big, high profile person and he had all this money and they wanted his attention and all of this stuff like people do when they're in a relationship. You want to please the other person, right? And so you end up doing some stuff that you don't really want to do. And so that's what with these two, they didn't really have a good case. The other thing that was really weird about this also is the defense never brought any witnesses. When have you ever saw that in a case as high profile as this and as big as this? They never brought a witness to the stand. They just called it. They knew that they had it in the bag, that he was not going to go to jail. He's going to probably walk free, get time served and barely serve anything. And all of this is interesting. And it's funny, Alex Jones, I saw a clip of Alex Jones. I don't know when he said this, but Alex Jones ended up said the charges that they're trying to bring against Diddy is everything that's legal in Vegas. So they had no case from the beginning, and they knew the evidence wouldn't really stack up a whole lot, even though we all jumped in at the beginning and we're like, pallets of baby oil and all of this other stuff and all of the sex toys and stuff like that they had pictures of. Cool. It's an adult relationship. They can do whatever the hell they want, right? But overall, the case fell apart because the two biggest witnesses, the big witnesses that they had, really had, there's documentation of them asking for more and saying they want to do this. Now, I understand Cassie's situation of when she was saying that I was just trying to make him happy because I was trying to please him and be his one and only. And she was trying to do all of that. But that's where sex trafficking by force falls apart. Out of all people, I want him locked up. I do. But this was a horrible case from the start. We didn't have the evidence to begin with. And they brought charges that they knew they were not going to get him with. So the only thing he had to do is write out this 8-week trial, and then he would end up just getting a slap on the hand. That's what it's been since the beginning. And with Diddy, he got the best case scenario out of this whole thing. Like, there was no way he was going to get out of here completely not guilty. But so he got guilty for transportation to engage in prostitution for both Cassie and Jane. They're saying, I believe they said earlier today that max sentence for those, he was looking at 41 months. So if you're looking at 41 months, he's already served since September to now, September 2024 to now, he's already served. How many months is that? That's 10. So, and a lot of sentencing, you don't end up any more than 50-ish% of the time that you're sentenced to. Because if you are good, you get out on good behavior, you can do other things. So he will probably he could get a slap on the hand and just end up with probation or different things like that. Or he can get he gets sentenced to another 10 months or something. We're going to have to see on the sentencing. I didn't take note of when the sentencing was supposed to happen. So I apologize on that. I missed that part. I should have looked it up. But overall, I'm disappointed. But I'm also not surprised because I wanted something to happen. They talked about all the video evidence and all of this stuff pre-trial. and it came out to nothing. Came out to nothing. We're not going to see anything. We didn't get any other bigger names. We didn't get anything sentencing in October. Thanks, Andy. And that sounds about right. Sounds about right. Do you think that they did that purposely, bring in charges they knew? Yes, 100%. Because Diddy's nothing but a fall guy. Like, he's the small guy in this whole scheme of things. Like, Noxie hit the nail on the head there. It's just a huge organized criminal ring. And I 100% agree with that. It's no different than the Epstein file, the Epstein Island, and everything Epstein did. These guys are just fall guys. Now, they get a lot of money to organize these things, and they get a lot of fame. And so it goes to their head, and they get all of these things. But they are really, really small in this whole ring of things. Everything is much larger than these two. These two are always the scapegoats. If something needs to happen, these two are going to get in trouble. They're going to try to get him out of it. Epstein didn't, obviously. But when it comes down to Diddy, I'm actually very surprised in the sense that he didn't end up Epsteined. He didn't end up anything like that. So it makes me think, like what you were asking, this was all just a dog and pony show, just because to satisfy the people and be like, oh, look, we gave him a trial. It went through, and they didn't have anything. And so they brought charges that weren't realistic. They didn't have the evidence to bring those charges. And now he's going to barely get a slap on the hand. I would have loved to see Justin Bieber at the witness stand. I would have loved to see Usher at the witness stand. I would love to see Jay-Z, Beyonce, some of these other bigger names that are in the music industry, because we know the music industry is feeding all of this. The music industry talked about breaking laws and being a rebel and going against the system and all of these things. That is what rap music is. But none of them were called to do any of this. Why? All of them were at his freak-offs. A lot of them were. Usher was. Usher admitted it. Because Usher and Bieber, Justin Bieber, were under like Diddy's wing as Diddy was the mentor. And we're not going to see any of that come about. They only focused on just these two. So they really narrowed down this court case. And the prosecution, led by Maureen Comey, James Comey's daughter, brought a shit case on purpose so he can just walk and get this very smallest charge that they can get, they can convict him of, and let him go. That's exactly what was going on. It's a huge system, and they're all together. What up, Zach? I see you. OB, CIA op. I agree. We got to ask Mr. Andy, though. He's the PSYOP of, he knows, he's the specialist of PSYOPs there. But I agree. This is the bigger system at play, and they got him off. They got him a lesser charge. Let's say that instead. Oh, geez. Yes, too much baby oil. He's slippery. He's slippery. Bieber isn't doing good since the whole Diddy situation. 100%, Andy. 511 Panther, who do you think is the master behind Epstein or Diddy? I don't know on who is. There's a lot of higher powers that are not being named anywhere. Everybody always throws out the name George Soros. But I remember when I started paying attention to politics really heavily, like 15, 20 years ago, everybody was talking about the Rockefellers and them. No one talks about them anymore. Everybody talks about George Soros today. So the name changes as generations go on and things, but we're talking about a group of very powerful people in our world with a lot of money and a lot of clout. Those are the people doing this, and they have a lot of friends and they have a lot of money to be able to pay people off. And that's what it is. To say a certain name, it's not fair because I can't say specifically, but they're all friends. They're all friends. Jim Bob, good to see you, buddy. Had to stop by and say taxation is theft. Big facts, buddy. Big facts. When we're talking about taxation, it is always theft. And we're going to jump in. Actually, that can be just our segue into the next big, beautiful bill and how we're going to fund it with taxes. With taxes, guys. You want to know what no tax on tips? You want to know what you're doing with no tax on tips? You're paying taxes. once you get to over $25,000. The Senate bill that Ted Cruz put up, that, and hopefully Nick is in the comments, because Nick was in trying to say, oh no, the House bill. No, the House bill had no limit, and it was much more solid. And we're going to go over that. Let me grab those links real quick. The House bill from the big, beautiful bill had no limit on taxes. Oh, bright white screen. Okay, we're going to do this. I like dark mode on my screens, but we're going to go over this anyways because I don't have dark mode on this browser. So let me show you guys. So tax on tips. Let me share my screen and we're going to go over this. It's $50K after standard deductions. Well, yes, but is that what we were sold on? We were all told no tax on tips. No tax on tips. Hang on. Why is that showing that? That's interesting. Okay, we're going to do it this way then. I did not know I could do this, but we're going to do this. I thought I would have to use the same browser, but I guess I don't. So no tax on tips, section 70201. Oh man, look what I did. This is why we can't have nice things. Okay, so now we can go in here. So in here, this is right here. The amount allowed as a deduction under this section is for any allowable taxable year, it shall not exceed $25,000. So now, let's see, did that change tabs? Yes, that did. Let me go double check, make sure I'm selected on the right version of this bill. Being zoomed in here. Okay, so this is the Senate bill. As you can see what's selected in this dropdown right now. Senate Bill 7-1. And then if we go down to no tax on tips, what I just showed you, $25,000. $25,000 is what they're maxing it out. That is the bill that Ted Cruz put up back in January to try to do that. This is where no one is talking about the Senate snuck that in because the House bill didn't have that in it. And I applauded it because at least they are sticking to their word. But no one is talking about the Senate coming in and just setting a limit at $25,000. And Andy, you are correct after the standard deductions, but still, no big account on X. Everybody's saying no tax on tips. No one's calling out the actual text in the bill has a limit. Everybody's sold on rainbows and sunshine, and we're not getting it. Let me go back and show you the House bill, just so we can all go over that together. So no tax on tips. And so in here, worded very differently. So we can go back and forth between the two. In general, the amount allowed, In general, there is no specification of a limit here. I believe, let me check my notes. I believe there was, it decreases. It changes when you get up to, where did that go? I thought it changes at 150K. Bear with me 1 second. Or am I mixing up the overtime? The other thing is the overtime. No tax on overtime has limits too. And so we need to be making sure that we know what's in the bill. We can't just go off of the name and say everything's just fine. This is exactly what happens when you just blindly trust the government. You blindly trust them. They do shit like this. All of a sudden, they sneak in $25,000 limit on your tax, no tax on tips. This is ridiculous. The other thing that's also in this bill from the Senate, and so that should really affect the service industry, mainly like Vegas and stuff like that, right? But Vegas also is going to be impacted. There's a gambling clause in here that you cannot write off. You have limits on your write-offs for gambling losses now. So a lot of these guys that do a lot of gambling or do a lot of sports betting and stuff like that, there's a cap in it now. That was not even in the bill at the House. Why in the hell is that part of a big, beautiful bill? Why in the hell is this even a thing? Why can't we stick to what we passed in the House and just get that done, maybe tweak some things, and then get it passed in the Senate? No, we have to push new agendas. We have to sneak in this information and no one talk about it. They want to put on caps on what you can write off when you're gambling. We had an entire conversation on the show about 25,000. Yes, but that was Ted Cruz's bill that he put up in January that the Senate voted on and passed before the big, beautiful bill was even a thing. Because that was, let me see, let me pull up the Cruz no tax on tips bill, S-129. Let me show you. Share my screen again, and then we will show you. So this is where that limit came from. So this No Tax on Tips Act, and it was all passed back in May before we started going down this. This is where there is a limit on this bill. Oh, why is this all formatted weird? I just want the text. There's usually a link there. Text. Oh, it's because there we go. So in here, this is the bill that passed the Senate that they just snuck into the Senate bill, the Senate version of the big, beautiful bill. This is why you haven't heard a whole lot from me on the Senate version, because I was waiting to get the actual bill that they pass, because there were some mistakes that was with the House bill when that just first was getting passed, that, yeah, there were silencers in it, but it was an amendment. It wasn't even attached at congress.gov. It was this mess. So it was a big thing to try to piece together, and it was a disaster. So that's why I was quiet on it until the actual full bill was put on congress.gov and we could go through it. And when I did that, no tax on tips is a lie. Because in the service industry and at high profile hotel, restaurants and stuff like that, I would hope people are making over $50,000 so they can make a decent living. And that should be no tax on tips. That's what we're saying. No tax on tips. So if they are getting paid majority in tips and getting paid $1.50 an hour, which is not uncommon by the restaurant, $1.50 an hour, and then the rest is all tips, they shouldn't have to pay taxes on it. Of course, everybody knows taxation is theft. I don't want anybody paying taxes anyways, but this is a start in the right direction. The other thing that's not being talked about with this no tax on tips, it expires in 2028. Anybody want to understand why? If we're making America great again, make it great again forever. Don't make it great for 4 years. These clauses should not expire by 2028. No tax on tips should be going forever. Good call, Andy. Majority of the people that make 50K or less don't pay any income tax anyways. Correct. So there's no benefit to no tax on tips. None. It's all a psyop. Big facts. They are intentionally misleading people by word choice. You are correct, Terry. And that is where, guys, do you think Donald Trump knows that the bill had these changes in it? Do you think Donald Trump is still pushing the big, beautiful bill and pushing for Thomas Massie to be primaried and do all of these things when it's not really sticking up to what he ran on, his campaign? Why isn't anybody calling this out? None of the big accounts are calling this out on X. Everybody's just like, pass it. It must pass. Get rid of Massie. Massie's building a team to make sure the bill doesn't pass. Yeah, because look what the Senate did to it. The Senate ruined the whole thing. Now, I'm not a big fan of the bill in the first place. By the way, the House bill increases the deficit by $4 trillion. The Senate bill increases the deficit by $5 trillion. Why did we need to increase this by $1 trillion? We are supposed to be running on how we're going to decrease the deficit. We are supposed to be trying to pay off our debt. We are supposed to try to get a balanced budget. But no. The Senate bill is full of a bunch of shit that is going to favor the politicians and their friends, not you. and they're trying to ram it down everybody's throat to get it done for July 4th because it's a big deal. I understand Trump wants to push his agenda, but this is not working. I agree, Kat. We do need to lower the interest rates. I want the interest rates lowered. Like, go down to zero, just short period of time so I can refinance, get the interest rate, and I'll be happy. And then we can go back up from there. I do think a healthy mortgage interest rate is right around 6%, 5-6%. That could be argued a little bit, but I do think that interest rates should be going down lower to kind of get people spending again. Let's touch on the tax on overtime. No tax on overtime has limits. Heck with Powell, just fire him. Yeah, well, I think we're getting a case. I think Donald Trump and the Congress is really starting to make a case to justify that Jerome Powell is not fit or serving, and so they can take action to remove him. I think they're starting to take those steps. But yeah, let's end the Fed. I'm agreeing with Terry right there. Let's just end the Fed. We don't need them. At 3% GDP growth, it is supposedly revenue neutral. Okay. All right, I can get that. All right, the tax on overtime. Let's touch on this real quick. No tax on overtime. If you work on overtime hours of over 40 hours a week, where did that go? Hang on. My notes are all over the place. Sorry, guys. You can deduct up to $12,500 in overtime per year, or $25,000 if you're married filing together. So if you work a lot of overtime in an industry that you do, you make over $13,000 a year in overtime, you're paying taxes on it again. Still got limits. Correct, but it will not be there without tax cuts. I agree. Investigations have started against Powell in the House. Yeah, that's what I was referring to. It gives me hope. It gives me hope that we might be seeing that. We might be seeing the actions going against Powell, showing that he's not fit and he's not actually doing the proper job. And then Donald Trump can start pushing to have him removed. But until then, we would just have to sit and wait. But we have to go through that process. Hopefully we get it done, because I would like to see him replaced. What up, Binary B? Good to see you. So the no tax on overtime, another lie. It's only up to $12,500 individual, $25,000 if you're married filing jointly. So still another cap. That also, by the way, no tax on overtime expires 2028. So all of these things, if we're going to make America great again, how are we doing this just up to 2028? If we're making America great again, let's make these things forever. Let's make these things permanent. And let's make it to where America is actually great again, not America's great for the next few years. I'm getting really sick of the government doing this. They really set these ridiculous clauses and these ridiculous time frames when they really shouldn't. I really find that they're doing this stuff to serve all of their special interests. They're not making America great again by doing this. Not at all. Making America great again would mean we're passing true tax cuts that stick. We're passing no tax on tips permanently. We're passing no tax on overtime permanently. And we don't have this. We're not getting it. Anybody that says promises kept, promises made have to start taking that back, because he was doing good with some of his executive orders, and you're hearing that from someone that hates executive orders. I don't like it, but I also recognize he can't get any of this done in Congress because look how useless they are. And so he's just doing what he can. Okay, I give that a little bit to you. But Congress is ruining all of this. Mike Johnson not doing his job. Thune not doing his job. Like, all of them are awful for doing this. There's supposedly 10 House representatives teaming up with Massey that are not going to pass the House bill. And some of them, like Lauren Boebert, is quite surprising to see on that list. And I think the House is trying to pass the original bill with the stuff that's in it and not do all of the crap that the Senate has. So we're going to see if we even get this through the House. It might pass the House and then have to go back to the Senate again. We're not signing this bill on July 4th, it looks like. It's going to be interesting. The Uni Party is doing their job perfectly. Big facts, Andy. They're serving their special interests. They don't serve you anymore. They only want to take care of their fancy lifestyle. By the way, did you see, anybody happen to see the van that Nancy Mace rented to drive because of weather she couldn't fly? Did anybody see the luxurious van, the Sprinter van that she took up there and with her girls? Let's pull that up real quick. Hang on. Let me show you this. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Like, you couldn't just get into a normal vehicle and just drive up there. You had to make this big ordeal about this stupid. Oh my gosh, this is so annoying. I hate politicians. Have I told you guys that? I don't know. I don't recall if I ever told you guys that. I told you I hate politicians. There we go. So this is just one of the videos. Look at the inside of this van. Look back here. You got all of this stuff is super decked out. This is a Sprinter van, which is not cheap. They're like $100,000, $200,000, and all decked out in here. TV, the seats all turn around, and all of this cool stuff. She rented this to drive so she could go up and pass the big beautiful bill. So this is the way she went up to Washington, D.C. to vote on it. Let me see if I can find the other videos. Like, here's another one. So this is the Sprinter van. We don't need sound. Let's see what she says, actually.
9 o'clock? 8:45?
Look at this. She rented this van. What the hell are you doing? Like, why are our politicians going around like they're some fucking like rap artist or something trying to pop out of these fancy vehicles and look at me? Why? This is just absolutely insane. Relax, Casey. It's her ex payouts that pay for it. Probably. And then that's why she did all of this whole road, like this whole thing on her. Like, she did all of this like in pajamas and posted all of these videos all over X. This is so cringe. What the hell is wrong with our politicians and anybody that buys into this? You are what's wrong with America. You are what's wrong with America. Let me see if I can find her. There we go. Let's scroll through her actual page here. Let's find. She went to Waffle House. Yeah, go to Waffle House after dark. It's a lot much more entertaining.
We're gonna be at least 8 hours, maybe 9. We are starting with Lola Young.
Who's driving this thing? Did she pay a chauffeur?
Drop your favorite road song in the comments, and we'll play it tonight. We got all night, nothing else to do until we get to the Capitol to vote on the big beautiful bill. Okay, we just took.
See, this is what's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, let's see this one.
DC, we're gonna
better view of inside the van.
8 hours with 2 rest stops and a Chick-fil-A drive-through, but I think we're gonna do Waffle House tonight. We'll probably get there rolling about 6 or 7 a.m. So let's go.
Waffle House tonight. We're gonna get there about 6 or 7 a.m. Or is she saying DC?
Let's go.
Like,
we are.
Look at the inside of that van. Do you guys want to go inside this van? Like, come on. Like, these politicians are so freaking ridiculous. There you go. Here we go. Look at inside this van. Now, I am a little bit jealous. I do like Sprinter vans, guys. I'll be honest. I think these Sprinter vans are sick. I think they're so awesome. I would never have one because I got 2 kids and 2 dogs and a cat, and that's a lot inside these things. But we're talking about a damn politician. A damn politician. These guys are an absolute joke. Joke. How do you even take them seriously and think that they serve you anymore? Hash browns, yum. Oh gosh. Gotta go, Casey. Take care. Good to see you, Jim Bob. Don't blow a gasket. Remember, if it has an apple, it has a banana. Ain't that a fact? Oh, have a good night, man. But yeah, like, I thought this was hilarious. Like, I wasn't even planning on talking about it, but Nancy, she is just a freaking disaster. Like, oh, whatever. All right, back to the big beautiful bill. So the other thing that's also that was touted, no tax on car loan interest. Casey gonna start a van life. J-Riv, that might already be in progress. Maybe. I'm just saying. I just went to Florida in a motorhome for an entire month. Andy says, that's the same van Hillary Clinton drove around in. Remember when she passed out and they shoved her in one? Oh, no, that was just in the back of just some other van. That didn't have seats in it or anything. And that was just shoving her in there because we all know that was just some sort of puppet. That wasn't her. What up, Green Man? Let's touch on the no tax on car loan interest real quick. So you can now, if you get a car loan, if this passes, the Senate bill says you can deduct up to $10,000 in car loan interest per year. If you make more than $100,000, it starts shrinking from there. What's the limit on no tax on overtime? The limit on overtime, good call out, Zach. Let me grab that for you. It is $12,500 overtime per year for a single individual. If you're filing jointly, it's $25,000. But the tax on the car loan interest is decent. $10,000 in interest on a car is a lot for a year. So I find that reasonable. $10,000 in car loan interest. Why in the hell can't we have a reasonable limit set for the no tax on tips? We had to go with $25,000? What the hell is going on? Like who I bet it was Ted Cruz being like, "Oh, it's my bill. We should do this. We already passed it. It's interest. It's there." Yeah, $10K in car loan interest. You can deduct that on your taxes, but paying $10,000 in interest over a whole year, that's a lot on a car. Cars do cost a lot right now. So those big expensive trucks that are $100,000 and stuff like that, okay, it might get there, but geez. And then of course, if you make over $100,000, it starts shrinking. $200,000 if you file jointly. Who in the hell pays it? Oh, $850 a month in car loan interest. Probably a lot of people. Americans are dumb. That's why we're in so much debt as a country. Not just our government, but look at all the debt all of the Americans are in. But anybody want to guess when this expires? When we no longer can claim no tax on car loan interest? Give me a wild guess. Just I want to throw it out there. It's got to be really tough to think about it. When does that expire in this bill? What do you think? I'll give you guys a second to see what you guys put. See who gets it right in the comments. Because this is absolutely ridiculous. I can't believe this stupid bill has all of this crap in it. And then they keep doing, oh yeah, J-Riv got it. There you go. 2028. All of these things expire in 2028. Good job, OB. Out of debt, it's exactly the way you should live. 100%. If you're in debt, you're doing all of that, you're a slave to the system because you got to be able to make all those payments. This is all ridiculous, guys. No one is talking about how the no tax on tips is not forever, no tax on overtime. No, the Senate bill adds $5 trillion, not $4 trillion. The Senate bill adds $5 trillion to the deficit. The House bill added $4 trillion. I don't know why we had to add $1 trillion, but the Senate felt they needed it. Absolutely stupid. One of the cool things that I do think about the no tax. Geez, look at what I've done. The section 179. So if any of you guys that run a business or into taxes and trying to figure out all of the ways you can maximize, like get your most of your return and know a little bit of the tax code, you would know section 179 in the tax code. Section 179 allows you to write off vehicles, especially when they are exceeding 6,000 GVWR. Gross vehicle weight rating is what that stands for. And you can write off huge chunks of vehicles. Hence why you have YouTubers doing car YouTube videos and they go out and get Lamborghinis and these other cars that may potentially push the limits there. And they'll buy a lot of them that are super heavy and they'll buy trucks. They do that because they could write most of that off if they have the income to counter it. And so then they practically get that car for free. Section 179 had the max limit increased. It was the limit was, what was it? Hang on, let me see if I can find it real quick. They took the limit from like maximum deduction limit is 1.2 million, and then it increases to 4.3 million total. It used to be 100%, Andy. It's no longer 100%. They changed that a few years back, and it's slowly decreasing over the next few years. And so it's going down in percentage, but you used to be able to write off the entire car on Section 179. That was a huge hack in the tax code. And that's where, if I can encourage anybody, try to make sense of some of the tax code and go through it and learn some of these things. You'll realize how you can utilize it to your benefit, and it's all there. It can be done if you have a business. Like if you're just a W-2 employee, you do lose a lot of tax write-off options. But if you end up having a 1099 or you run your own business, it makes things awesome, and it gives you a lot of functionality, a lot of benefits to leverage the tax code. So I'd highly recommend anybody to dive through those things and learn it and use it to your advantage, because I used it to my advantage a few years ago. I had a hefty tax bill and ran a business, and that hefty tax bill really shrunk with utilizing Section 179. That is for sure. I just paid $425 for my car tabs. Ah, yeah, see? Where's free? Car stickers. $425 to have permission from the United States government to drive that vehicle on the road. Andy, get a good accountant. 100% agree with that. I have a good accountant. They do great. They cost me some money, but they do some good work. And I do all of this research, and I bring up to them, and I'm like, hey, I want to do this. I think this will work. Does this make sense? And for example, taxes this year. And I called her up, and I explained everything to her, what I wanted to do and what I had. I was like, I wanted to do this, and this is how I wanted to leverage this. I have the federal tax credit for solar, and I need to be able to leverage that. This is how I want to do this. And she's like, you actually really know what you're talking about. Well, I just spent some time listening to some podcasts, reading the tax code. Everybody wants to make it super complex and never pay attention to it. But you want to start keeping a lot of your money and not giving it to the government. Learn the tax code. Or at least what can benefit you. Section 179, if you have a business, you need to be using it 100%. All right, guys. That wraps up a lot. Oh, alligator Alcatraz. We got to touch on alligator Alcatraz real quick. How many of you guys know about support alligator Alcatraz? Because I know it's a costly thing. It's probably cost us some money. I think it's a glorious idea. I think it's really cool. I would like us to see do more stuff like that, because these people, they got to be held accountable somewhere. And setting up something like that to be able to get things going, great benefit. And if they get out, I want a live stream on the outside of alligator Alcatraz. I want a live stream and just watch some of those people try to get in the water and get eaten by it. State of Florida paid for it. All right. How do you feel about that, Terry? Because you paid for it. I think it's great, but I think overall, when it comes down to alligator Alcatraz, I think it's really awesome. I think it's awesome. Procedural vote. Oh, never mind. All right. I just refreshed X, and all of a sudden it was showing. All of a sudden a bill was voted on. I was like, what was that? Yes, feed them to the alligators. Hell yeah. It saves us on fuel costs. I'll be a hippie. I'll be a tree hugging hippie and say, hey, climate. We got to save the climate. We don't need to send all of these illegals by plane. Let's give them to alligators. And let's use alligator Alcatraz for pedos next, please. Because wood chippers are starting to get expensive and they run on gas. But we could just use nature. Let's use nature to take care of the pedos. Can we do that? We need to use nature more. And I think alligators are awesome. One thing that I will have to say about our Florida trip, guys, I did not see not one wild alligator while I was in Florida. They were all in cages. They were all on display. Didn't see one wild alligator. So I was kind of disappointed in that one. Oh. But that's okay. We'll be back to Florida soon, and then we can see it again. We can give it another chance. But we also didn't go to the Everglades. That's on the list for next time. But it would have been cool to see a wild alligator. We didn't see one. But guys, we are just about to wrap up the show. We completed. I told you I would take you to see alligators. We went to Gatorland. We saw alligators. But yeah, we should have taken some detours and did some more intentional looking for wild alligators. We should have. But again, like Emily and I have said multiple times on that trip, we will be back. Your backyard? All right. And we weren't far. We could have done that. Yeah, we'll do that again, Terry. We will make sure to make that happen. Alligator bites, by the way. Everybody was trying to say things like, oh, eat alligator to get me to cringe. I have no problem eating animals. Horses, no. Dogs, cats, no. I don't. Dogs and cats, if you want to eat animals, you go to Panda Express. But when it comes to alligator, I thought it was kind of bland. It was probably not made right. It didn't have a whole lot of flavor for me, but Emily and the kids liked it. Emily and the kids loved it. And so we'll see if it was just not made wrong. Try it again some other time. But we also went to go try frog legs, and the restaurant was out of frog legs. It is bland. Okay. Thanks, Terry. I'm glad you confirmed that. Cause yeah, there was just no flavor. I'm like, I'm like, it's not that great. Zach, you know, I'm not wrong. Panda Express. You know it. You know it. Let's see. Always assume an alligator is in every body of water in Florida. Sure. We could have just thrown some people into the bodies of water and saw some fun stuff. But overall, the trip with Florida was great. That was good. We went over the stuff that we were going to talk about tonight, guys. Anybody got anything else we should talk about real quick? We got a few minutes. If not, we'll start wrapping this up. There you go, Zach. There you go. But I'm just glad to be back, guys. It's nice to be back to my desk and be at a normal computer. I was working at a desktop, sitting in my bed, or sitting at a small desk in the motorhome. It's nice having this room again. BBB has the votes to proceed. Are they doing that right now? Wait a minute. I thought Thomas Massey had 10 people on his side. Just finished the vote. Is that what it was? Oh, good. Freaking hell. Let's see. Just trying to see. I don't see it yet. Dang it, guys. Looks like if they pass this, your government lied to you, guys. Your government lied to you. The final vote he has, for final vote, he has 10 people. This is just the vote to proceed. Oh, to proceed. Thank you. You did say that before. I just didn't catch on to it. Vote to proceed. We'll see when it comes down to the final vote and when it actually goes in. We're going to see how that goes. But we'll wrap it up here. We will wrap it up here and we will call it. And it's good to be back to talk about the schedule for the show going forward. We will be doing this on Wednesdays. Next week is still Tuesday. I have a guest. I already scheduled it. And so we're going to have him on and we're going to talk about it. I'll make that announcement there in a couple days and get that post out and schedule it so we can promote it and go over with who we will have on. We're going to do some main stuff as we always do with the show, break down some of the politics and some of the stuff going on, but we'll have some conversations with this guy and see what he's up to and his agenda, because he is really trying to do something new and we're going to see how it goes. It's going to be a lot of fun. You guys might be interested in it also. But we'll be tuning in, and a few of you already even know who it is and what it will be about. But tune in later. I appreciate you guys all checking in with me and being back. It's good to be back. And we will be live next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, with a special guest. And we will see you guys next week.